Can I ask you a question?
Please.
How much do you think Kane's absence has had to do with the culture?
I think so. Here's an interesting way to put it. Going into, was it 2 nights ago now? Everybody seems like they want that one quote. They want a player to just blow up on Kane, and they want Kane to blow up on the Sharks. And Bob Bugner might have went the farthest, and just kind of describing why it didn't work and this and that. And it wasn't one particular thing; it was a lot of things. But I definitely think it's more about what's not said. It's the body language of these players, and when they pump up how good the team is vibing this year. It's almost like, don't read the quote word for word. Take what you know, put it in the big picture, and evaluate that. And to be honest, I'm a guy who had enough interactions with Evander over the years to I would think I'm a good judge of people, at least instantly, where I can say, okay, there's something wrong or there's something going on there, that this is not a good dude, or this something's fishy here. I never got that with him. I honestly never did. But I think what you can see in people who either said as much or quite honestly didn't say as much but alluded to it, that there were enough people kind of not wanting his return. And the Sharks literally, how many times in pro sports do you have a 30-goal scorer type player, type impact player, and you hold them away from your team? In the NFL, they don't do that, at least not that I'm aware of on a regular basis, but it's so important to the room. It's so important to a hockey team to not, and kind of the way that they started this year, to not disrupt that. It was made very clear that it would have complicated things. So sorry, I know this is a long, drawn-out answer, but I think it's a significant deal that the Sharks, as a franchise, decided to back their players, or enough of the players who spoke out or made it very clear that they were better off without him. Again, Evander's going to be a good player for the Oilers. That's just the way it's going to happen. Maybe the Sharks do or don't owe him anything with the grievance process, but so long as they can turn a chapter and use that cap money to move on, I think they're also happy too.
Now, to be fair, if you want to talk about how good your character judgment is, I'm here. So
I promised you this, and I it's one of those. It's a charity case, AJ. It's where,
that's what I looked at. I'm like, you might want to reassess how good it is.
I knew you'd be watching this if you weren't on it, and I could see your face. I could see the depression, the anger. You're like watching.
Oh, tears.
You're watching your buddy Alden here. Eric always tears it up. Felix was jumping in. Like it was basically Teal Town minus AJ. So I didn't want that to happen.
No, that's all right.
What else is on everybody else's Sharks radar? Or do you want to go outside the Sharks? Do you want to go something else in hockey? What's on anybody else's mind?
I just want to say one more thing about the Kane thing. I completely agree about what players aren't saying. But the one quote that I always think of that stuck out to me was towards the end of his suspension this season. Somebody asked Couture if he had talked to him.
Right.
And I think his answer was along the lines of like, I haven't talked to him and I don't know anybody on the team that has.
Right.
And like, to me, that was like the most, telling comment, because hockey players and teams are so tight together, and, they're tight on the rink, and outside of it, even when they go to different teams, they always communicate. And that was like by far the most telling quote to me of like where they were as far as wanting to be involved with him, even as a person.
Encanto, that new movie, they made a Sharks remix. It's like, we don't talk about Kaner. You guys know that? If you don't have a kid, you may not know that. It's, we don't talk about Bruno. Never mind. I took it too far.